Welcome to the Good Divorce Show, where we can help you learn how to navigate the journey of divorce with less conflict, less debt, and equip you not to just get divorced, but also learn how to be divorced. Your host, certified divorce coach Karen McNenny, shares her wealth of knowledge, gets advice from other relationship experts, and interviews couples who learn how to have a good divorce, so you can too. Now here's your host, Karen.
Hello, thanks for joining me again here on the Good Divorce Show. I am your Good Divorce coach, Karen McNenny. And today, Jersey girl, Junie Moon, she is the CEO of Midlife Love Out Loud. She is a global love mentor, best-selling author, women's empowerment leader, and certified shadow work coach. She has guided thousands of individuals over the past 30 years to reclaim their birthright, which is the freedom to love and be themselves unapologetically. Since her own divorce in 2010, Junie is focused on helping women, particularly in midlife, embark on transformative journeys of self-discovery and empowerment. And after leaving her own dysfunctional marriage, she embraced this new empowered chapter in her life, clear about what she deserved. And this newfound clarity enabled her to attract not only a healthy, but also a dynamic and supportive relationship. And her personal experience with the next level love led her to dedicate her career to sharing these insights with folks just like you and me, listeners. Welcome to the show, Junie Moon.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, Jersey's in the house.
That's right.
Don't hold it against me.
Right. We need a little Jersey sass here at the Good Divorce Show. I'm really curious to hear first a bit of context. As I mentioned in your introduction, you came through your own divorce journey, moving out of what, none of us set out on our marriage day to think about, well, and then someday, right? But many of us find ourselves at the crossroads of saying goodbye to a marriage and saying hello to a newly re-singled life. Can you just give us the highlights of that journey for you as a way of backdrop and context and the work that it brought you that you do currently?
Thank you. Let me start with kind of the end, the rainbow first.
Yeah, I love that.
Because I really, truly, in my wildest dreams, never thought I would be where I'm at now in a partnership where I can just be myself and loved just as I am. And more importantly, it doesn't even matter about him. What matters is I'm just able to be relaxed in who I am. And I'm not jumping through hoops to be loved. And I'm not in my fear of, am I going to be left? I just show up and I'm free and I'm able to enjoy my life. And I just never knew truly that it could be as good as this. And that's why I call it next level love, because it's totally next level. It's beyond anything I could have imagined. So I knew I had to
interject and just celebrate that.
Aw, thank you.
And I'm so happy that our listeners are getting that right out the chute.
Yeah.
And I know for myself, coming into my re-singled world, and my therapist said, your first job, Karen, is to fall in love with yourself.
Yeah.
Date yourself, spend time on your own, embrace that alone without being lonely. These seemed like impossibilities. And I'm 13 years post-divorce, and it took me probably a good 8 years before I really started grabbing onto that concept. And so as we go back in time with your story, will you interject right now, Junie? Because someone might just be like, that's what I needed to hear today.
Yeah,
if they
there's
want
hope.
to find more from you,
Okay.
and those resources, I always like to front load a little bit, and then we'll keep this at the end of the podcast, of course. But this is going to be a magical conversation, and someone is going to want to come back and hear more from you.
Oh, what a smart idea. No one's ever done this. It's just so smart. Well, Midlife Love Out Loud is the name of everything. It's, put a .com, midlifeloveoutloud.com is my website. And for the women here, there's a great quiz you could check out. Sorry, guys, but it's geared toward women. You could take it, just translate into men's stuff.
Right.
And there's a lot of resources there. And so Midlife Love Out Loud, I have my podcast on YouTube and Apple. That's Instagram, that's Facebook. So I'm all over the place, really empowering people to create the second act in the way that makes them excited to embrace this chapter, being themselves and loving it, whether they have a partner or not. And to the audience that you're serving, and I just absolutely love it, to give people the chops, give people the tools so that they really can do it differently. I mean, I have this course called the Relationship Toolkit course. It's kind of a do-it-yourself course, but it's also with me. You have access to me and you get a session with me to help you with the inner tools. Because if you don't have that self-love, like you said, if you don't have the ability, let me just say what you do get. You get the chops on how to speak your truth, how to be vulnerable without that deep fear, to feel safe, to trust yourself, to be able to have some healthy boundaries, the skills that we weren't taught. And so there's some unpacking, but there's also the healing journey. And so the toolkit is an awesome way to get started on your journey wherever you are in your love journey. And I have a special contest that I'm running right now. We'll talk about that later. To win it. So it's great.
Relationship toolkit. And I could not agree more. I mean, here we are kind of catching people downstream, post-divorce, reinvention, transforming their life. But honestly, upstream, before people fall into the river, in what I refer to as relationship literacy, when we have our population in school from ages 6 to 20, many of us, sometimes more. And I don't know about you listeners, but most of us come into our adult life wildly underprepared and underskilled when it comes to relationships, first to ourselves, and then how we pick a partner, how we know what's going to be a healthy partnership. So here's Junie Moon, our midlife love doctor, if you will, who is helping us to pick up those skills so that it's not just a rinse and repeat cycle.
Oh my God, exactly. Exactly. And that's the biggest thing I see people do is just jump into another relationship that looks a little different. They think they know what they want because they're looking back and going, well, I know what didn't work. I know what I don't want. And then they find themselves in the same patterns and the same challenges. And it's so painful. Second marriages, I think the stat is like 61 to 67% end in divorce. So second marriages, you think you know what you're doing, but to your point, we haven't been given those tools. And on top of that, we've been conditioned to be so careful, to fit in, to not make mistakes. This is our wiring, and all of that conditioning at a very young age has us acting in ways that really aren't in our highest and best for us, for our partners, for our lives. And that's why I do the work I do, because again, I never thought I would be where I'm at, because I too went into a relationship. I too was in a 20-year marriage, and I didn't have the tools. And I look back, and yes, it led me here, and I'm grateful for the journey. But ouch, ouch. I was micromanaging everything. My stomach was in knots on a regular basis because I was afraid to speak my truth. I didn't want to poke the bear. He was a spicy dude. I didn't want conflict. I didn't want him to leave me. I didn't want the relationship to blow up. So I figured, let me just handle everything. And it was exhausting. It totally affected our intimacy. And ultimately, I was 200 pounds. I was miserable. And I knew something had to change, but I knew it wasn't just him. It was easy to point fingers at him. Ultimately, it was what was going on inside of me. And I did so much of this work in the marriage. I found this body of work called shadow work, which I'm sure we'll talk about. And this body of work helped me see why I was doing the things I was doing, acting in these ways, speaking things that just were not in alignment with who I truly am. And then I woke up. And it wasn't just understanding, because a lot of personal growth work is just like, even therapy, it's great stuff, but it only takes you so far, because we can understand things. But to change the patterns, to heal the patterns, that's doing some deeper dive work, the unconscious realm. And that's my specialty. It's what changed my life. And I knew I needed to do it for other people as well.
Beautiful. Were there children in that first marriage?
Yes, and I just want to make sure your sound is okay because you just got really low. I just want to make sure you're okay.
Yeah, and my computer just said, here, we're gonna pause. So were there children as a result of your first marriage, that 20-year journey that you had?
Yep. And frankly, that's what helped me leave on some level
Mhm.
because he was challenging. My son was challenging. He had some issues, and it really helped me see how dysfunctional my marriage was, how and how I wasn't able to protect my son in different ways because I was so scared of speaking up,
Yeah.
standing ground and protecting my kid
Yeah.
because he was a bully in a lot of ways. He was unhealthy in a lot of ways.
Mhm.
And so, yeah, I had a kid. He's 28 years old. He's out in the world doing his thing. And that was one of the challenges in the breakup because obviously, even though my kid was begging, not even beg, can't say begging, but he was like, get rid of him. He was 14. He's like, get rid of that arrogant asshole. I mean, that was what my kid was saying. That is not why I got the divorce. However, it was a mirror and it helped me really see that there was a lot of dysfunction. And that also led me to getting the help I needed and the transformation that came from it.
I think so often we have this mantra in our head, stay for the children, stay for the children.
Yeah.
But- And then there's a switch. I need to leave for my child. I need to
Yeah.
leave for my children so that they have a better model of a joyful human in their life
Yeah.
and hopefully a model of healthier, more vibrant relationships. Because at the very minimum, we are the teachers of our children, not in what we say, but in what we do and what they see us do.
Yeah.
So you headed out of that relationship, and we probably don't need the details. What I'm curious about, and in retrospect, has it been how long has it been as we chat here at the end of 2024 since you left your marriage?
14 years. So you said 2010, that was when I left. And I
Yeah.
do want to just say something, as I've gone through my journey and have spoken to so many people post divorce, there's no perfect way to do it.
No,
And sometimes people do stay, and maybe that was the right decision.
that's
Some
right.
people leave, and maybe it was the right decision. There's right, wrong. I mean, I can tell you stories, and we're not going to go into it, but I look back and go, oof, wow, maybe I should have stayed a little longer with the tools that I had. I mean, it was disruptive in different ways. I had a kid that was challenging. So I just empower everybody to listen and to choose what is best, highest and best for you and for your kid. And to your point, role models. Like I know in this moment that he witnessed a strong mom who walked on eggshells for years, a strong mom to say, this is not okay. I deserve different. I deserve better. And, different
Yeah.
view of perhaps what he witnessed as growing up.
Yeah, and I just love your spirit of permission and reminding all of you listening that we wish there was a clear path. There just
Yeah.
isn't. But
Yeah.
what we can do is bring our wisdom once we start to reveal it. And like you describe yourself, there was a lot of inauthentic behavior that you were not speaking your truth. You were not
Yeah.
honoring yourself and your
Yeah.
wisest, highest self until you moved out of that story and began your own work. Now, you mentioned shadow work,
Mhm.
shadow presence. Would you start by giving us just a little overview of what you mean by that and why we should even pay attention to it?
Happy to answer that. And if there's anything that I love more there's nothing more that I love to share about. And what I was going to say, if there's anything to learn, it is about the shadow.
Mm.
Um, it's life changing. So if you don't know what's driving your life, then how's that going to play out for you?
Mm.
If you don't know what you don't know, if your unconscious mind, which is 95% of your brain, if you are not sure of what really is creating your life, then you're in default. You're just letting things happen. So I discovered shadow work. It's a very specific body of work I've been trained in. And the shadow is a Jungian term. And what that means is that there's a part of us, and we all have it. We all have aspects of it. There's a part of us that we hide sometimes, different parts, different aspects of us. I don't want to be too bright and bubbly. People might think I'm too much. I don't want to speak up. People might think I'm a bitch. I don't want to ask to get my needs met. Somebody might think I'm selfish. Whatever it is, we learn how to fit in and be good little girls and good little boys at a very young age. Our parents are giving us messages. Our culture is giving us messages. Our religion is giving us messages across the board. And we are sponges because guess what? We want to survive. We were born, we're wired to survive. So on one hand, that's good. It's like, okay, let me be the good little girl and not ask for too much because I want mommy and daddy to love me and not think I'm being selfish or greedy or any of the things that maybe they said to me at a young age. Perfect idea to get me through because we're vulnerable. But if we take all these experiences, because we have these experiences as kids, maybe you asked for a toy and your mother shamed you and said, you are a selfish little girl, and maybe in that moment you're like, oh my God, maybe she was having a bad day, or maybe you are asking for too many things, But at the end of the day, if you get a message that was like scary or hurtful, you feel the separation of mom's love or dad's love, there's a part inside of you we call the risk manager that's going, don't do that again. Hide that part. Let's throw it away in shadow. Let's put it behind you and not even think it's there anymore. And so if you're not selfish in a healthy way, like the ability to go, hey, I actually would like this. This is important to me. If you throw that away, that's throwing the baby out with the bathwater. So we want to take it back. We want to be able to have that healthy selfishness or that ability to express ourselves or even express our anger in a healthy way. But if it stays in shadow, if you don't know what is behind you and what you've lost access to, then it's going to come out sideways. So if you throw away your needs, you're going to be a people pleaser. You're going to be focused on everybody else's needs, and you're going to be afraid to actually ask for what you want or need or what's important to you. If you throw away anger, you may not set healthy boundaries, and then you become a doormat. There's so many things that we do in the name of keeping the peace and surviving. And that's what I did in that marriage. I was so scared to lose the marriage. So I handled everything. And I was a good little girl until I said, this isn't working for me. But it wasn't about going the complete opposite way. It was about embracing my truth, my authentic self without apology and saying, hey, this isn't working. We need to sit down and have a conversation versus what I used to do, which was hold it down, and then go bananas on him and pound on his chest and scream at him. I was a crazy person because there was just that last straw and boom, all that energy had to go. So the shadow, we need to know what it is. We need to embrace it. We need to do the healing work. And that's why relationships suffer so much, because everybody's bringing in their bag of shadows. Yes. And no one's being authentic fully because they're scared of getting hurt.
Yes. As I hear you talk about this, I have an image of a beach ball in the swimming pool, right? Our unconscious or that shadow, and we push it down and we push it down and we push it down. And the deeper it goes, the more velocity and energy it gains until it shoots out. Exactly. And just like that beach ball, you don't know when it's coming. You don't know what direction it's going. You don't know how high it's going to go, but it's probably
going to pop up. Yes.
Pop up. And like I did my training as an integrative art therapist, drama dance movement called the Collective Self at the Royal School of Speech and Drama in London.
Oh, wow.
And it was rooted in Jungian psychology, the work of Carl Jung, spelled Jung, for those of you that are new to this work. And I think what also is so striking is that, we think of shadow and we think of that dark side, unconscious. And I would also challenge you all to think as you hear Junie speak that it isn't all bad back there in the shadow. sometimes there's gold in
Oh my
there
God, so good. Yeah.
that we have not been embracing, that hasn't had a space to come forth. Who am I to be? Fill in the blank, right? Would you unpack a little more of your own experience of what you started to discover about what you were keeping down, right? The gold as well as the garbage, and how, because we're going to get to the real pot of gold at the end of your rainbow story here, which is a new relationship. And I think, it's exciting to have you on the Good Divorce Show today, because we often are talking about the journey and the process and getting through divorce and recovering from divorce. But all of us, I think, and I would hope, will find healthy, vibrant love. And we don't
Yes.
have an opportunity to talk a lot about how to do that, not just the theory of it, but actually how to do it. And this is the work that you are embedded in, that you have devoted your life to, so that we can reinvent not only ourselves, and that's where the work begins, but we can reinvent the relationships that we call into our life. So pull
Wow.
any thread you got there, Junie.
There's so many. And first of all, I'm just like loving this conversation, and I didn't know that about you. So, wow, this just went to another whole level for me. So, okay, a few things. One is the beach ball thing you referred to. It's not just one beach ball. That's the other piece of it. Could you imagine? It's sort of like whack-a-mole. It's like, here's a beach ball and here's a beach ball. How many beach balls can we hold? And then they're popping up all over the place. What a mess. No wonder we struggle so much.
Beautiful, wounded, messy humans that we are.
Yes. And can we be loving to ourselves with the messiness? Because frankly, the more compassion we can have for ourselves as human beings, the better all of our relationships will be, because it starts with us. And you mentioned gold, and that is the language I use. Everything we've lost access to, everything we've put in shadow has gold to be mined. Everything. It's just we want to leave the icky, yucky, shadowy, unhealthy aspect of these things and have control over them, and then be the healthy part of it. So you asked about my journey. So yeah, I was bullied as a kid. I was afraid to speak up. If I spoke up, I was embarrassed. I was shot down. All that pain, as many of us know in middle school, how horrible, but it even started at 9 years old for me. And I learned at a very young age, don't stand out, don't speak up, or you're going to be squashed and embarrassed and hurt. So everybody that's listening and watching, think about some of your experiences and some of the things that, some of the beliefs you took on about what's safe to be like and what's not safe to be like. Because I learned it wasn't safe to stand out. By the time I got to high school, I couldn't even raise my hands in class. I was so scared. So that was a smart move as a young kid. Got me through. Missed out on a bunch of stuff, but it got me through.
Yeah.
But that didn't work out so great in my relationships. Let me just not speak up. Let me not share my truth. Mm-hmm. And so the gold, I threw away my voice. The gold is my voice. The gold is the ability to really speak from my heart and to be vulnerable. And if I want intimacy into me, I've got to be able to open and let somebody in. But I have this fortress around my heart. I mean, I have clients that come to me and they're like, I so want to have a partnership. I so want to be seen and heard and adored. And they're living in a castle with a moat with crocodiles and the drawbridge is up. It's like they are so afraid of letting somebody in because they've been hurt so badly. And that's why I always put a stake in the ground and say, do this work before you get into the next relationship. You're not going to be perfect. I'm not perfect. However, get the blinders off, see what you lost access to, and mine that gold so that you can truly start over in a fresh way. And if you're going through a divorce, also I've worked with people that are going through divorces. You got to have healthy boundaries. You have to be able to speak up, but not chop people's heads off. So, anger, healthy anger. I was afraid to express my anger. I mined that gold and I was able to go, you know what? I have a sword at my side. I can take it out if I need, and I'm just going to speak what I need to speak. So there's different flavors of it. And the biggest thing for me was self-esteem. I didn't believe I was safe enough to get my needs met. I was afraid to be vulnerable. And that is a very common thing with women. Am I worthy? Can I really get my needs met without looking like fill in the blank? So to mine the goal, to mine that healthy energy so that we can be transparent and we can be met soul to soul and relax and enjoy the journey with all the people in our lives, our business colleagues, our friends, our kids, our parents, all of that. This is not just about partners. So did that answer your question a little bit?
It only gave me 5 new questions. So
I got time.
go back to intimacy,
Yeah.
into me, you see, and the vulnerability that's required. And I love this idea of the castle. So go back to this shift on what intimacy is really about.
Yeah.
And then what the reward is that comes when we bring our full self-love into a loving relationship.
Oh my God, you really are wonderful. You have such great questions, and I just love where you're taking this. So for everybody here, what is your dream? Like seriously, if you could have that partnership, that is your dream. You've seen enough rom-coms, you've seen it, you've had your Disney movies. What would you love? You want to just have your best friends. You want them to know you so well that they have your back and you can feel safe and you can trust them and all the other juicy things. So that to me is intimacy. Yes, intimacy in the bed, we need to also be relaxed and to be able to connect in that way. However, to be able to have great sex, we also need to have a strong foundation and a deep friendship and a deep connection. So it's everything. And so if you think about the North Star of what you truly desire, if that's what you want, why don't you have it? And that comes back to the fortress around your heart, all the strategies you've picked up to keep you safe. So all these strategies of be like this, don't say this, watch out for this, look for the red flags, I better be careful with this. All of these strategies, including getting sick, all the sabotage that you do in the relationships, outside the relationships, this is all in protection of your heart. So on the one hand, you want this amazing partnership of love and respect and joy. On the other hand, you're wired to make sure you don't get thrown under the bus, that you don't get left or hurt in some way. And love is risky business. It really is. And so if relationships are risky, which we know they are, let's just be real.
And scary as a result of that.
We don't know people. Yeah. It can be very scary.
One of the deepest hurts is a hurt that comes wrapped in what we thought was love and enduring, and the story, like you said, all the stories that we've been fed of what love should look like and what its endurance should be. And it's incredibly risky and incredibly scary. Most of us can feel that as we begin to repartner. That those old wounds, that old PTSD, and it wasn't safe before. So
it's a real thing.
I possibly think that it's safe now.
Yeah. And so it's tricky. So if you really want that dream, then you need to learn how to handle risk. You need to learn how to have your own back. You need to know who you are and be able to love yourself. And like you said, do the dating research, get to know yourself in such a deep way. And I always say, become your own soulmate so that when you do partner with somebody or put yourself out there, that no matter what happens, you still have the most important person in your life, which is you. And when you hold yourself to high standards, and what I mean by that is you respect yourself, you love yourself, you know what works for you, then you're going to spot people so quickly that aren't going to match you. You're going to, I don't want to use the word demand, but energetically say, this is what I deserve. And you'll spot it so much more quickly if it's somebody that can't really match you at the level that you know you're worthy of. So to handle risk differently, learn how to be with risk and have the inner tools so that it's less risky. And if something does go sideways, yeah, it's not to say that it's not going to hurt, but you're not going to be devastated, and you will get through it. And you have that solid foundation. I have, and if you don't unpack the bags, if you keep carrying all of the shadows with you and you don't know what's bubbling inside of you, you're going to have more of that risk. You might be that deer in headlights, and you are way more vulnerable to pain and things going sideways than if you really know yourself on a deeper level. And some people are like, oh, but shadows sound scary. And what I offer to people is, it's way more scary not knowing what's under the bed. Turn the lights on, look under the bed, get the flashlight and go, oh, I just need to clean up some stuff here, and then you can start over. Yeah, so great. So great.
Well, listeners, we're going to pause just for a hot minute, and we're going to come back and continue our conversation with Junie Moon, who, really works through her heart-centered coaching and mindset techniques. She is out there supporting clients to cultivate deep self-love and confidence and really prioritizing alignment with personal growth, moving beyond just dating advice, but really like, how do I need to shift my own mindset to find that next meaningful relationship? Yeah. Junie is the best-selling author of Loving the Whole Package, Shed the Shame, and Live Life Out Loud. You can find her at midlifeloveoutloud.com, as well as her podcast. We're going to come back and hear a little bit about your continued love story. Stay tuned.
Are you thinking about getting divorced? Before you call a lawyer, call the Good Divorce Coach, Karen McNenny, a certified divorce counselor, co-parenting specialist, and mediator. Karen's signature Good Divorce experience will guide you through your divorce journey, from the day you make that difficult decision to the day the decree is signed, all for a predictable fee. The Good Divorce Coach will teach you and your partner how to get divorced and be divorced with less conflict and less debt. Visit thegooddivorcecoach.com to get in touch with Karen.
Now, back to the show with Karen.
Hello and welcome back to the Good Divorce Show. I'm Karen McNenny, your Good Divorce Coach, chatting today with Jersey girl, Junie Moon, CEO of Midlife Love Out Loud, who is spending some time chatting with us today, not just about the divorce experience, recovering from divorce, but how can we redefine ourselves? How can we attract a new kind of love? How can we fall in love with ourselves in the journey, and recognizing that it doesn't come from outside of us. It starts with that internal work. And Junie, you can find her online at midlifeloveoutloud.com, as well as her podcast, her book, Loving the Whole Package. I just love that. And this idea of shedding the shame. Can we just do a little detour about shame, Junie, and the dangers of it, the detriment that it brings to our lives, and how it can really stall us out? And then what do we do with it? Get over it.
Yeah, like it's a huge thing. And we say shame grows in the dark. It is the monster under the bed. It is the shadow. It's the thing that goes, oh, that is an ugly part of you. Don't let anyone see that. Ouch. Ooh, icky. If we're walking around feeling like we need to hide who we are and not be our true selves because we're ashamed of our being, how does that feel in our body, and how does that allow us to connect with other people? And so when I was writing my book, actually, might as well go here on how did the book even come into being? I had a live stream show called Life Out Loud with Junie Moon many, many years ago. And I would interview some of the greatest trailblazing people of our time. And I had the opportunity to interview someone who was a body painter. And he would paint naked bodies, and he was known for the art of the body and the beauty of the body. And I was like, hey, come on my show and you could paint me and we'll do it live. And, are you open to that? And he said, yes. And then, of course, I realized, what did I just do? Right? What did I just do? I had dealt with so much shame about my body and my body image my whole life. I would cancel events and not leave my house because I just felt so ugly and so ashamed of how I looked. So I carried shame on a regular basis, specifically around my body, no matter what weight I was, 200 pounds or 140 pounds. It was always the same thing. And so when I realized that I could do this, like really do this, I realized that I had shed the shame, that I had released something through the shadow work, that I had transformed that shame into gold, into knowing my beauty, my worthiness. And then I went, well, wait a second. If I could truly do this, then I want a video crew to make this into a documentary. So I made it into a documentary. It's gone viral. It's all over the place. It's been in film festivals. And yet, when I realized that it was so impactful and people were coming up to me on the streets going, oh, you're Junie Moon. Thank you for sharing my story. How did you do it? I realized the movie was inspirational and hopeful. However, I didn't really help people figure out how to do it. And that's where the book came from. How to shed the shame and live fully without apology, being you no matter what. And so the book is about how to release those icky parts and own that there's absolutely nothing wrong with us. Shadow and light, we are perfectly imperfect. And that was healing. So
and
that's my story.
The film is called Shed the Shame, for those who want to go find it. And the book, Loving the Whole Package. And again, we can hear Junie on a regular basis on your podcast about this midlife love, where many of us find ourselves seeking. And like you, we got divorced about the same time, 2010, 2011. My husband moved out on my 40th birthday. That was the weekend. There was a U-Haul.
That's what I call mine, my husband.
Husband. And dating is already its own sort of interesting obstacle course. And then you add to it midlife, coming out of divorce, which just tacks on a little bit more shame, like we're no good at relationships and you failed and now you're broken and now you've got these kids and how are you ever going to piece all that together? So you have found a path for yourself as you help others find their path. Would you mind sharing some of the key stepping stones in your post-divorce love journey and the learning you brought as that evolved over time?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, it's a big deal in midlife and beyond. Who's going to want me now? My boobs aren't as perky. I'm older. I've got baggage. Like, there's a lot of beliefs that we picked up along the way, not to mention all the fear that we might do the same thing over and over. That's what I help people release. So when I left my marriage, I went right into another relationship. And a lot of people say that's the worst thing you can do, to jump right into a relationship. And going back to, should you stay for the kids or not stay for the kids? Everybody's going to find their way, and it depends on you and your circumstances. These are guidelines. These aren't rules. And for me, I had done a lot of work in the marriage to be able to do that. And I went right into what I call next level love. I based my work on that relationship. We were together for only 4.5 years. It was magical. It was beyond anything I could have even shared with you, can share with you about the type of deep love that we had. And as life had it, there were certain circumstances that had us need to go in different ways. And we remained so close until his death. He died several years ago. And so, yeah, I still miss him. Oh, miss him so much.
Yeah.
And it set me on a path of, well, big shoes to fill. I'm going to just keep going. And interestingly enough, I went into a couple of relationships after that kind of came out of the shadow bag. Some of the old stuff that I needed to still work on. I'm not perfect. I'm still unpacking some things. And I suddenly was in some relationships. I was like, oh my God, he's just like my ex-husband. And then I realized, all right, there's some more work to be had. And I truly, truly, truly put a stake in the ground that every single relationship we have and every single moment in our life brings us to the next best place. If you if you mine that gold, if you take that opportunity and do the healing work, which is what I did. And so I took some time after that last relationship. And frankly, the last relationship, even though it had some challenges, it also was next level love. I was able to be myself, and it was really beautiful in so many ways, but it also had shadowy stuff. And I went, okay, that's it. I need to clean this up. And for the last couple of years, well, not the last couple of years, but 2 years before the relationship I have now, I did the work. I emptied out the U-Haul as much as I could so that this next relationship would be different. And so I just love telling this story. So I was dabbling, we all do that sometimes. It's like, I'm not really ready, but let's do some swiping or whatever.
Mhm.
And trust me when I say I know how to date well. I teach my clients all the ins and outs of how to, what are the best pictures, basically showing you in your joy, not the perfect pictures, but expressing who you are, because there's no hiding. Don't hide yourself. Be yourself in those pictures and have a bold, and I mean bold, profile that when somebody reads it, they know. So my story, and I just love this story, was I was finally ready. And I was like, okay, that's it. I want my man. And I went into the app. So many of the apps are great. I was on Hinge at the time, and I had one rose, and I made a decision. I said, okay, I am only going to send this rose to someone. I'm going to send it to one person, and I'm not going to swipe on anybody else. And only if they show me in their profile something that I know 100% sure that this is somebody I want to talk to and that there's potential here. So
they also had to reveal in the same way that you're bringing your full authentic self.
Yep.
You're looking for someone as a baseline. Show me who you are.
Show me who you are. Exactly. Yeah. And not everybody's great at it. Not everybody has built out a profile like I have built out or I help my clients with. However, for the person I was looking for, he had a couple of things that he caught my attention. I was like, oh, okay, got my attention. Then he wrote something else. I'm like, oh, you really have my attention. And then he wrote something else. Boom, I sent him the rose. And this is what happened. Next day, I get the message, OMG, I cannot wait to talk to you. I'm into this and this and this and that. And he was blown away by my profile. And the rest is history. We match in the most magical way. We are so similar, it's crazy. We have so much joy, so much laughter, so much depth, and it's not perfect. And when we have our little thises and that's, we come to this sacred, safe place and we share vulnerably. Sometimes it's a little uncomfortable, but it's not what people call drama. It's real. And we're able to be in it together. I mean, today, I don't know when this is airing, but today is a couple of days after the election. We actually voted differently. And yet we have deep respect for each other because we're working different things, but we have our values, true values in place. And today, full honesty, I was feeling some feels. I was feeling some vulnerability about a lot of different things. And I shared it with him, and I wasn't worried about judgment. I wasn't worried about being thrown under the bus. So when you're clear, deeply clear about who you are, mostly, because we're still evolving, and you've done the journey of maybe dating a bunch of people, or maybe haven't found the right person, and you get to that place where you are ready enough to put a stake in the ground and go, yes, I'm looking for this type of relationship, this type of person, and I will not accept anything less. This is not about being a perfectionist. This is not about, having such high standards that nobody's going to want to be with you. I invite you to have high standards, your standards. And when you honor that, I speak universe, the universe comes in and says, oh, okay, I saw you didn't want him, but you want this. And all I can say is that's what's happened for me. And it's happened so many times with my clients because of that bold stand and the deep clarity and love for oneself.
Oh, it is a beautiful love story. And it's not one love story. It's the journey of self-love that then leads to this companionship, which we're wired for, right? It's in our biology. It's in who we are as a species. We want to be partnered. what really leaps out as you're chatting, Junie, is this idea of not only show me who you are, but I'm going to show you who I am. And I can only speak through the feminine lens because that's the one I've lived in for 53 years. But I've spent a lot of years doing what I just call like personality contortion tricks.
Ah, yeah.
When I think of like an actual contortionist, I'm always like, oh, stop doing that. Don't bend that way. That's not normal.
Yeah.
It just looks wrong. Well, I am guilty of contorting my true self of, well, maybe I should be more like this or more like that. Or if I do a little more, how will I get their attention? How will I hold their attention? Like, right. It's all that external.
Yeah.
Until the shift, which, I mean, really, like it was a midlife shift. I don't know if it just takes that long to get there. Again, maybe if we were upstream a little further and helping our young people to do the work earlier in our life.
Mm-hmm.
And I realized I don't want to actually hide who I am because then I'm going to end up with the wrong person. They're going to think I'm an apple when I am really such a banana. So stop pretending.
Yeah.
Stop pretending about yourself.
Yeah.
And I think the other thing that really stands out from your story, in addition to like that true authenticity, which seems like it should be such a simple thing, but this is not, just because it's simple, folks, does not mean it's easy.
So well said.
But the other piece is the ability to recognize not everyone is my person. And I'm not everybody's person. And even as I'm working with couples going through divorce, and I'm a real cheerleader, once people arrive there, I'm like, okay, let's do it. Let's do it without languishing. Let's do it with dignity. Let's get you on the other side. I'm so excited for your future. Like there's almost a spirit of celebration and recognizing neither one of you has to be wrong. The alchemy has changed between you. Like literally maybe 20 years ago when you were in your 20s, the chemistry was just what you needed, but now what we see is we got a bowl of ice cream and a bottle of ketchup, both fabulous. Like who doesn't,
but not necessarily what you want or what's going to be a good fit. Doesn't go together.
Put your ketchup on your ice cream, go find your caramel sauce, go find your French fries. And in doing so, like when we are presenting in those dating apps, however we're presenting in our midlife, and it really sounds like this is the gift that you give to your clients is, peeling the onion. Who are you? And without shame, bring that to the table. And if someone is like, I don't dig it, well, perfect. Good information.
Thank you. Right? It's a gift. It is a gift when you say to someone, I don't feel the fit, or they say it's not a fit. Yes, there's always the little potential rejection thing, and it's a gift. The day before I reached out to Michael, he had been seeing somebody for several weeks, and the day before I reached out to him, said, I don't think this is working for me. And the next day, boom, there I was. So, and he's friggin' grateful. So I love this because that is what we're looking for. We're looking for that fit. I use the metaphor of like if you're driving down a highway and you have to get to the airport and there's a billboard and the billboard says something that is like, oh my God, I just have to take this exit. I must go see what this exhibit is or whatever. That's how the profile needs to look. Because if the profile isn't going to stand out with your uniqueness, I mean, everybody's like, I like the beach, I like to travel, I like movies. I mean, that's all great. At the end of the day, how are you being and who are you sharing? When you can truly drop into your authentic self, yes, as you said, maybe not as easy as we'd like because we're afraid if we really show ourselves, what will people think? However, what will people think? You don't necessarily need to worry about what people will think. You want that person that goes, I like this chick. I like this guy. So, yeah.
Well, as we come to the end of this episode, which just doesn't feel like quite enough, I'm wondering if you would just unpack a little bit when someone comes to you as a client, and I know you primarily work with women, but guys, this is for you too. I have
Yeah.
such
Oh,
a
I work
heart
with everyone.
for
Yeah.
the dads and the men. And in many ways, I think we don't give enough to our male counterparts in terms of building emotional and relationship literacy. But what would people either expect in their journey of working with you, or what are some key, this is going to overlap, but I always enjoy the moment that one of my listeners is like, oh, that's the thing I need, that I can integrate or apply in my own life. That's the thing
Yeah.
I needed to hear today.
Beautiful. Just like the relationship toolkit course, which is a do-it-yourself, like I said, and the contest, if you enter it, by the way, I give one free space, one free course each month, and then a bunch of second place prizes. That course is similar to what I do with my clients. What is your love story? What did you learn love looks like? What did you witness with your parents? We need to unpack the past. We need to look at what our beliefs are around relationship. And in that course, as well as when I work with people, we are learning, and this is kind of a little wild, what I'm about to say is befriending your fear, befriending your inner critic, learning to be with it as a partner versus the fear squashing you and having it run you so that you're closed off. So when I work with people, whether it's in that course on your own or whether you're working with me, you're learning how to dance with some of these parts of you that have you going, I better not share my real truth. I better not lower that mask because I might be left or rejected. How will it be to share my visions, my heart, my truth? How can I open my heart safely? And so we start with everybody I work with, we start with learning how to work with the fear. But here's the other thing. Everybody has their own flavor of fear. Ultimately, it's the same thing. We don't want to get hurt. I mean, really, if we drill down, no one wants to be hurt. But what is your hurt? What is your fear? What did you learn? Was it abuse? Was it somebody died on you? Was it somebody cheated on you? Was it that, you weren't treated the way you wanted to be treated, or whatever it is? So we need to shine a light on what did you learn love looks like?
Mm-hmm.
And then we build on that. You need to start with that. Because if you don't have, going back to what we said earlier on, the risk manager, if that part, and it is on high alert, going, whoa, they're going to do it again, they're going to get hurt again, that risk manager sees very black and white. Oh, she's going to go over the cliff and everything's going to be a disaster. We need to go, hey, come here. We need to have a chat. Mm-hmm. This is hurting me. I don't want to spend the rest of my life hiding who I am. I don't want to end up alone. I want to have a healthy partnership. So we must befriend and learn a new way of being with the parts inside of us that sabotage us and get it to work for us, not against us. So that's how I start with people.
Oh, well, Junie Moon, CEO of Midlife Love Out Loud, you are speaking to my heart, and I'm sure to the heart of many of the folks who've joined us today on the Good Divorce Show. Junie Moon has a film, Shed the Shame, that we talked about. Look it up. Best-selling author of Loving the Whole Package, Shed the Shame, and Live Life Out Loud. Podcast, Midlife Love Out Loud. What else do you want our listeners to know about you, as, like me, they're going to want another scoop?
All right, two things. One is, if you go on YouTube and you put in Shed the Shame, you probably won't see it because there's so much out there. But if you write Junie Moon naked body painting, you will find my film.
Okay, and good disclaimer.
Yeah, you want to see me naked, go there. It's really a wonderful documentary. It's only 9 minutes long, but it's so powerful. It's the thing I'm most proud of. And it is on my website as well. So that's an easy way to just go to the media page. So, and the other thing is the contest, which is win this $700 value course, which will walk you through all these steps so that you can come out the other side with a lot less baggage and a lot more love for yourself and a much better chance of having a great love life. And so when you enter the contest, make sure you put your real email and your real phone number so I can actually reach out to you. And remember that there are some great second place prizes as well. And then tell me why you should be the winner, because I read everything. It's, if you're, I want to win, but why now? Yeah. Why do you want to learn the skills? How is this going to impact your kids by modeling healthy love? How is this going to enhance your life? Why now? So, so those are the two things I'll just say. And just to add in that I'm 60, my clients are 40s, 50s, 60s, and above. I have had people find their soulmate in their 70s. I don't think I've had anyone in their 80s just yet, but that's not necessarily who I talk to anyway. But it's never too late to really come home to your own heart and have a magnificent second act. And when you're being your highest and best, truly, that's when the outside world, it shifts, and who's attracted to you and who you're going to be attracted to. So I really encourage everybody to just keep going and doing the work and believe in love, because love is here for you.
Oh, that's such an important message. Just believe in love one more time. And it is my wish for Junie and I, as we come out our own divorce journey and work to build a garden of love again for ourselves. And I hope that happens for each and every one of you who's listening today as well. Thank you so much, Junie Moon, for joining us here on the Good Divorce Show. And listeners, I will remind you, everything will be okay in the end. And if it's not okay, it's not the end.
I love it.
Thanks for listening. Do you have questions or thoughts about this week's episode? Let us know by following the Good Divorce Coach on Facebook and Instagram at Good Divorce Coach, and leave a comment. And be sure to tune in every Monday at 10 a.m. Pacific, or listen anytime wherever you get your podcasts.